Lost Boys and Lost Girls, welcome to the Second Star channel. Today's video is another in the series that I am calling Amusing History. A monthly series where I take an attraction from the original Magic Kingdom and provide you all with an in-depth retelling of its history. This month is the month of mayhem, frights, and supernatural occurrence. And when I hear all those words, there is only one ride that comes to mind: the Haunted Mansion. Let us step into the dead center of the room and travel back to where all this spookiness began. Without further ado, here we go. Let me set the historical context. It's 1951. The Walt Disney Company is well in their way of the silver age of filmmaking and is making huge television and film success. Walt Disney wanted to create a place where children and parents alike could travel to have fun exploring new three-dimensional realms. He came across this humble orange grove in Anaheim, California, and envisioned it as something far more unique. A magical kingdom of wonders with beauty beyond conceptual art. On a BBC network in London, Walt Disney expressed his sympathy for the homeless ghosts around the world, and stated that he wanted to give them a retirement home on Main Street, USA in Disneyland. He proclaimed that the nature of a ghost is that they constantly need to perform, and what better place to perform than an amusement park? Of course, we never saw that retirement home on Main Street, USA, but in 1958, Disneyland expanded and a new realm was added to the map right outside of Frontierland. It was known simply as New Orleans Square. There is much speculation when it comes to the design of the Haunted Mansion. Some have speculated that the mansion looks like the Stanton House in Mississippi, while others claim that it looks more like the Evergreen House in Baltimore. The truth, however, is that, like Main Street USA, the Haunted Mansion is based on a combination of many different exterior designs, all originating from 1850s architecture in the South. An interesting task that the Imagineers found with the construction of the Haunted Mansion was that they needed to find a way to lower the guests underground and through the earthen fern that the train tracks of Lily Bell lie upon. That's right, the show building for the Haunted Mansion is underground to the left of the tracks near New Orleans Square. When the Haunted Mansion was being recreated for other Disney parks, Disney Imagineers had a different issue of figuring out a way to create the illusion of the room stretching when in fact guests were not traveling downward. Yes, in case you were wondering, Disneyland is the only Disney park that has the Haunted Mansion take its guests underground. This adds to the uniqueness of the attraction at Disneyland. There were many different forms of what would eventually become the Haunted Mansion, but every concept elaborated on the story of the house. The original idea of the attraction was to have Walt Disney guide his guests through the mansion via a pre-recorded audio track, but that never came to be. A bit of an odd concept, but as the old saying goes, there are no wrong ideas. It may be worth noting that a lot of Tomorrowland was influential for the construction of the Haunted Mansion. The People Mover opened the idea that there could be an attraction in a constant state of motion, where the guests would quickly get on and off a slowly moving track. This idea came from the Disney legend Bob Gurr. One day, as he was aboard the People Mover, he was twisting an apple by the stem. He asked Walt Disney, "Why don't we develop a ride that turns in a certain way to encourage the guests to look at one particular view? A way to focus the attention on a certain show scene, character, or element." All of this was done with a form of technology that the Disney Company was quickly becoming experts with: audio animatronics. The first ride to possess audio animatronics was none other than Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room. The plants of the room were wired with two inputs, one that would feed air and one that would feed electricity. This combination presented the plants and other animatronics with the ability to create lifelike movements. This technique was evolved with the introduction of Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln in 1961 and Pirates of the Caribbean, where they worked on hydraulic animatronics. This provided the smooth movements that the animatronics have in these popular attractions. A new form of technology was created with the construction of the attraction, Pepper's Ghost. Pepper's Ghost was used to create the illusion of the animatronics in the ballroom scene disappearing and reappearing in every turn. This effect originally came from the mastermind Yale Gracie, and there is an Easter egg in honor of the Disney Imagineer. As guests travel through the graveyard scene, there is a gravestone that reads, "Master Gracie lie to rest. No mourning please to his request." In 1963, the Haunted Mansion facade was completely visible to the guests of the Disneyland park. It was up and ready for everyone to see. For 6 years, guests at Disneyland viewed this mansion without a single clue as to what its purpose was. Why was there such a dark and mysterious building at the happiest place on Earth? What sort of adventures were hiding behind those creaky doors? Once guests were allowed to ride the attraction on August 9, 1969, they were in complete awe as they had been with Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room a few years earlier. Guests from around the world traveled to catch a glimpse at the happy haunts that had taken up residence in Disneyland. Speaking of Pirates of the Caribbean, let me retell the story that ties the Pirates of the Caribbean ride with the Haunted Mansion ride. The Tale of the Sea Captain. Legends tell of a sea captain who had purchased an estate for which he wanted to live a happy life with his new bride. The sea captain would often travel, and he would leave his bride with one rule, that she could travel anywhere throughout the estate except for the attic. One day, while he was away, the bride found herself ascending a creaky staircase, opened the door of the attic, and found treasures beyond her wildest dreams. She immediately became distraught with the realization that her beloved sea captain was nothing other than a dirty, rotten, lying pirate. As fate would have it, her husband returned at the very moment that she had discovered his big secret. The sea captain was quietly walking up the staircase to the attic with a large chest full of his newly found treasure, and unsuspecting of what he would find in that room. He found his bride in a deep and dark depression, still coming to terms that her sea captain was a pirate. This sight threw him into an overwhelming rage, but the bride somehow ended up accidentally falling out of the top floor attic to her demise. From that very moment, the house grew cold. The maids and butlers grew lethargic, and the sea captain began to age very rapidly. He reached out to Madame Leota, who was the town oracle at the time, and he asked her to conjure up the spirits to bring back his lovely bride from her untimely death. Now, despite all of her efforts, Madame Leota was not able to bring back the sea captain's bride, causing him to become even more sad and depressed. He realized that the only way that he could be reunited with his bride was in the afterlife, and he took his own life. You might even see him hanging around the portrait gallery. One other story that the Haunted Mansion holds is the story of Constance. Now, it is often believed that the first place where guests meet Constance is in the attic of the Haunted Mansion. As you go deeper and deeper into the attic, the guests notice the 5 portraits of Constance's 5 different weddings. She's wearing the same wedding dress in every portrait, but there is one subtle detail that is different in each wedding: the pearls around her neck. She gains pearls with every wedding that she holds. However, this is not the first time that guests see Constance. In the portrait room, at the way beginning of the ride, guests may notice an elderly woman holding a rose. As the room stretches, it is revealed that the elderly woman is sitting on a gravestone. It is Constance sitting on the gravestone of her late husband George, who found his end at the end of an axe. The original face of Madame Leota was meant to be based on the face of Disney Imagineer Harriet Burns. She had worked very closely with Walt Disney and was in fact in charge of the Haunted Mansion project. They asked her to do the fitting since they had the dimensions for the oval that they wanted. However, her eyes were too far apart and her facial features appeared very small once the headpiece was fitted onto her head. They then reached out to another lady in hopes of being a test subject. Her name was Leota Toombs. but her coworkers called her Lee. Maybe it was a spark of destiny, but Lee found herself that very same day that she was fitted traveling to studio makeup department to have a complete makeup look and cowl fitting as they were preparing to record her face for the attraction. Lee's daughter, famous Disney Imagineer Kim Irvine, has worked on many updates for Disneyland. She even designed the Dream Suite above the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. Kim remembers her mother coming home the same day that she had her face recorded for the projection, and has claimed how terrified she was of her mom's face as she entered through the front door. One of the most recent refurbishments for the attraction include the placement, or should I say, the return of the Hatbox ghost. When the Haunted Mansion attraction began construction, there was the idea of a ghost that would hold a hatbox in one hand. Every few seconds, the ghost's head would travel from on top of his shoulders and reappear in the hatbox that he held. Now, this effect must have been too good to be true in the 1960s, because it actually didn't work most of the time. No one knows for sure when it was removed from the attraction, but most claim that the Hatbox ghost was only there for a few days and was removed a few days after the ride was open to the public. The strangest thing is that for the longest time, many have believed that it had disappeared for good. Imagineers could not find the Hatbox ghost anywhere in storage. Fortunately, maybe out of luck or due to the oncoming Diamond Celebration, Imagineers found a box in the attic that was labeled Hatbox. Sure enough, that box held inside the legendary Hatbox ghost. He was brought back for the Diamond Celebration, and it appears as if he has taken up permanent residence at the mansion. Now, this is all fine and dandy when it comes to regular Haunted Mansion, but if anyone is attending Disneyland during the months October through December, the Haunted Mansion doesn't look like the regular estate. In fact, there seems to be a bit of a nightmare taking over the Haunted Mansion. Before Haunted Mansion Holiday was implemented in the Disney park, Disneyland only had two popular attractions with holiday overlays: It's a Small World and Country Bear Christmas Special. Disney Imagineers wanted to expand the idea of having holiday overlays on their attractions during the holiday season. Their next target, the Haunted Mansion. Originally, Disney wanted to create a holiday overlay inspired by A Christmas Carol, probably because of the 999 happy haunts within the mansion. However, it didn't quite fit with the placement of the Haunted Mansion in New Orleans Square. A Christmas Carol takes place in London, England, while New Orleans is in Louisiana. All of this planning took place in the late 1990s, and the film A Nightmare Before Christmas came out on October 13th, 1993. When A Nightmare Before Christmas was first created, it was treated as a subservient to other Disney animations. In fact, Disney didn't even want to have their name attached to the film when it was first released. Despite its dark undertones in the fairly uplifting era of the Disney Renaissance, the Walt Disney Company noticed a trend with the popularity of A Nightmare Before Christmas increasing as every year passed. It was then settled that the Haunted Mansion holiday overlay would be inspired by the holiday success A Nightmare Before Christmas. It took Disney Imagineers 3 years to plan out how the overlay would work in the mansion, and it was all thanks to the mastermind Steve Davison. Disney Imagineer Steve Davison also created the World of Color. It was under his leadership that the project became finalized. One main issue that the Disney Imagineers came across with the development of the overlay was that most of the original cast members and voice actors in charge of the Haunted Mansion had unfortunately passed away. During the Haunted Mansion holiday overlay, Disney Imagineer Kim Irvine paid homage to her mother by being the face of Madame Leota for the ornament scene in the Haunted Mansion. This was due to her striking resemblance of her mother, the original Madame Leota. Another issue that Disney Imagineers faced was the decision of how expansive they wanted to make the holiday overlay. In comparison to It's a Small World holiday and Jingle Cruise overlays, the Haunted Mansion holiday overlay was massive, changing almost every detail to fit the theme of A Nightmare Before Christmas, rather a Halloween Town invasion. This is why it took the Disney Imagineers 3 years to finish it all. The Haunted Mansion holiday officially opened on October 3rd, 2001 and quickly became popular. It was due to this overlay that the Disney park implemented the Fast Pass system for the Haunted Mansion. There have been continual updates to the Haunted Mansion with every year. Most are not as noticeable as others. However, the most recent update was the placement of the Sally animatronic in the graveyard scene this year. The Haunted Mansion originated in Disneyland and is the only version of all the Disney parks to have a holiday overlay, pushing its uniqueness even further. It's strange to think that there was a time when guests weren't allowed to enter the mansion, but now we are all dying to volunteer and take the 1000th spot aside our happy haunts. I guess that's the price we pay for staying in our corruptible mortal states. And there you have it, lost folks. Hopefully you enjoyed this in-depth history and fun facts on the Haunted Mansion and the Haunted Mansion holiday overlay. What other Disney attractions should I cover? Let me know in the comments section. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. To stay in the loop and be informed on all history and all fun facts Disney, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Till next time, keep on flying second star to the right and straight on till morning.